Okay, so we're gonna go over that review. And this is how I'm always going to handle when we have a quiz, an upcoming quiz. You will always have a review, and I will always go over that entire review for you. So your homework tonight is just to study. This video that I'm recording right now, it will be posted in Google Classroom. You can watch it later. It'll probably post around 5 p.m. today. I can't upload it right after school because the internet sucks here. It is what it is. So anyways, here we go. Linear and exponential review. You have to determine whether each is linear, arithmetic, exponential, or geometric, or neither. So I like to color code, as you guys know. So I'm going to let arithmetic be yellow. Remember, we're looking for linear things. Those are arithmetic. You know, linear, exponential, neither. And geometric is exponential. And then neither will just be blue. Something different, okay? I find it helpful, especially since I'm the one grading your stuff. If you highlight answers, it really helps me grade. So I really recommend it. If you don't have a highlighter or if you forget, it's okay. It's not detrimental to your grade, but it really does help the grader when they're grading your stuff, okay? So if you can color coordinate things, they don't have to be exactly as me, the same as me, but it helps me when I'm grading. All right, so number one, we have 4, 8, 16, 32. Was it arithmetic or geometric?
Geo.
It's geo. Does it have a common ratio then?
2.
Yeah, multiplying by 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. And you gotta check. Does it work through the whole thing? If it doesn't work even for just one term, then it's gonna be a neither situation. Has to work throughout. So, and because it's geometric, you have to state what the common ratio is. On your quiz tomorrow, if you just say geometric, but you don't state the common ratio, you're gonna get half the points marked off. You have to make sure that you state both. So this was geometric, so I'm gonna highlight my answer in pink, because that's what I'm color coordinating it to be. All right, number 2, is it arithmetic, geometric, or neither?
Yeah.
It's arithmetic, right. What is the common difference?
-9.
-9, right. -3 minus 9 is -12. -12 minus 9 is -21. So, and -21 minus 9 is -30. Gotta check them all. It is arithmetic, and the common difference is a -9. Okay. So again, if it is arithmetic or geometric, you've got to state arithmetic or geometric, and you can abbreviate it. That's totally fine. But make sure you list also what its common ratio is and what its common difference is. Number 3, arithmetic, geometric, or neither?
Neither.
That one's a neither. It's all over the place. 8 minus 4, or 8 divided by 2 could be a 4, but then it increases. 4 plus 2 would be a 6, and then 6 plus 3 would be a 9. So if I were to divide, 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is not 6, it would be a 2. Like, it's not working throughout, it's all over the place. It is inconsistent. So it is a neither situation, and if it's neither, there is no common ratio and no common difference to list there. So you just say neither. So if it's neither, it's neither. All right, number 4, 5/3, 7/3, 9/3. What is it? Arithmetic, right. What are we adding? 2/3. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting fractions, you add or subtract the numerators, but you keep the denominators. 5 plus 2 is 7, so I know that 5/3 plus 2/3 is 7/3. 7/3 plus 2/3 is 9/3. It's working throughout. So this is arithmetic. We're adding the same number every time, and that number is a 2/3. Sometimes it'll be a fraction. That's totally normal. It can happen. It can happen. Number 5. I'm noticing something interesting. I'm noticing it starts positive and then it goes negative, and then it goes positive and then it goes negative, and then it goes positive. So that tells me right away that we're multiplying by a negative number. Is it arithmetic, geometric, or neither?
Neither.
It's not neither. It's geometric. Let me show you why. So it is geo. Remember that formula you wrote down in the 2.1 notes? R equals a term divided by a previous term. this one would be where we would use that because it's not easy to see what the R is. So what we can do is we can take a term, like I'll take -1/3, but instead of using a fraction bar, I'll use the division symbol and divide it by its previous term, 1/2. And then I get to say my rhyme again. Dividing fractions, it's easy as pie. You flip the second and multiply. So -1/3 times 2/1 is -2/3. So the R must be -2/3. Let's test it out. So I'll just test it out over here. So if I take 1/2 and I multiply by -2/3, it should equal -1/3. Let's see what happens. When you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across the numerator, straight across the denominator. 1 times -2 is -2, but what's 2 times 3? 6. Can we reduce this fraction? Yeah. We can divide out a 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and I get -1/3, which is what it's supposed to be. And if I take that -1/3 and I test it out one more time and multiply by a -2/3, we should get +2/9. What's a negative times a negative? A positive. Okay, so we got the positive part. 1 times 2 is 2, but what's 3 times 3? 9. +2/9, which is what I should be getting. It is working. So it is geometric. It has a common ratio of -2/3. But you might have to investigate to see if it really does work. And we did. It's working. So it looked like it might be a neither because of the whole fraction situation, but it wasn't neither. It did have a pattern. So remember, R is a term divided by a previous term. When it's not so easy to tell what it is, you gotta use that formula. Okay. All right, so in the next section, it says for each sequence, write the explicit equation for a sub n. Okay, so there are 2 different types of explicit. They're either arithmetic or geometric, so we need to see which ones they are. So number 6, is it arithmetic or geometric? This one is arithmetic. Now it doesn't say to identify that, but I'm identifying that so that I make sure I use the correct formula, okay? So, first of all, what are these increasing by? 3. So that means that the common difference is a 3. When I use the arithmetic formula, I also need the first term. What is the first term? 4. So remember, the arithmetic explicit formula is a sub n equals a1 plus d times n minus 1. You have to know that formula. You will not be given that formula. Okay? You gotta know it. All right, so let's plug in all the things. So we need to replace the a1 and we need to replace the d and then clean it up. So a1 is a 4, the d is a 3, and then times n minus 1. What property is coming next? Distributive, right, we gotta distribute that. 3, so we're gonna have 4, positive 3 times n is a positive 3n. 3 times -1 is -3. And then what step is coming next?
Combine like terms.
Combine like terms, right. So then we're gonna get, let's draw a little arrow. I'm gonna write my full equation, a sub n equals 3n, and then 4 minus 3 is a 1, a positive 1. So an equals 3n plus 1. Okay, that was an arithmetic explicit formula, so I'm gonna highlight it in yellow, because arithmetic is yellow, for me anyway. Okay, so that was number 6. Number 7, those numbers look like they're getting smaller, and then some of them are turning into a fraction. So is number 7 arithmetic or geometric?
Geometric.
Yeah, that one's geo. What are we multiplying by? 1/2. You're right. Half of 10 is 5. Half of 5 is just 5 divided by 2. Half of 5 divided by 2, well, when you multiply by 1/2, 5 times 1 is 5, 2 times 2 is 4. That's how we get the 5/4. So 1/2 is correct, but I also need to identify the first term. What is the first term of the sequence? 10. And we have to use the explicit formula for a geometric sequence, and that is a sub n equals a1 times r to the n minus 1 power. Okay, so this one was arithmetic. This one is geometric. Okay, now the geometric one is actually easier than the arithmetic one because you just have to plug in all the things. So a sub n equals the a1 is 10, so replace it with a 10, times the r was a 1/2, and then to the n minus 1 power. And there it is. You don't have to do anything to clean it up because there is nothing to clean up there. So there is my geometric explicit formula for that sequence. Okay. Number 8, is that arithmetic or geometric?
Geo.
It's geo again. What's the r? Times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3 is 81. So it's got a common ratio because it's geometric. And what's the a1? 3. So we're using this formula again. So we just have to substitute in the a1 and the r. So a sub n equals, the a1 is a 3 times the r is a 3 to the n minus 1. And then that's it. Okay. Number 9, arithmetic or geometric? Arithmetic, you're right. What's the common difference? -5. It is subtracting 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. 1 minus 5 is -4. -4 minus 5 is -9. And what is the first term of this sequence? 6. So I'm going to be using this formula again, that arithmetic formula. So a sub n equals, I'm going to plug in a1, it's a 6. Actually, I shouldn't write plus d because the d is a negative number. So I'm just going to change that to a -5 times n minus 1. What property is coming next? Distributive, right. So we're going to have 6, -5n, -5 times -1. What's a negative times a negative? Positive 5. And then what step is coming next? Combined line term. So I'm going to draw a little arrow. So I'll get a sub n equals -5n, and then 6 plus 5 is 11, right? So that was arithmetic. So I'm going to highlight that in yellow. So hopefully we're getting the hang of those steps. That was that section, writing the explicit formulas for each of the types that we've been learning, arithmetic and geometric. Those are the only 2 types of sequences we're going to be learning this year, by the way. All right, and then for each sequence, pick the recursive equation. Now we're looking for a recursive equation that generates it. And it tells us that this section is multiple choice. So if you look at number 10, it has A, B, C, and then D is listed up at the top of the back of the page. But you don't even really need D because it doesn't even end up being D anyway. Number 10, is it arithmetic or geometric? It's arithmetic, okay? So what helps is, even though it's multiple choice, I do recommend that you write out what it is first and then look for the multiple choice option that it matches with. So we know for an arithmetic sequence, you have to list whatever the A1 is, and then A sub n equals A sub n minus 1 plus whatever the D is, okay? So look at this sequence, 4, 7, 10. What's the A1? The A1 is a 4, but what's the D? The D is a 3. So I'm looking for A1 equals 4, and I'm looking for the A sub n minus 1 plus 3. And we should see it right away, right? Which one is it?
A.
It's A. And since this was an arithmetic problem, I'm going to use my highlighter, my yellow highlighter to highlight it. A sub n equals A sub n minus 1 plus 3, comma, A1 equals 4. The first term is a 4. Okay. All right, letter B, automatically there's an issue because we have A sub n plus 1. Okay. Down here, letter C, it says times 3. That's geometric. And then D here says minus 3. It wasn't decreasing, so we wouldn't be subtracting 3. Okay. Number 11 was the same type of problem, but is it arithmetic or geometric?
Geometric.
This one's geometric. It's geo, because we're multiplying. What are we multiplying by? What's the R?
1/2.
1/2. You saw this problem earlier, and you identified that earlier. Okay, so now we just have to write a recursive formula for a geometric sequence. So it starts off the same as the arithmetic one, except instead of adding or subtracting, it's multiplying by the common ratio. Okay, but it's set up very similar. What is the first term of this sequence? 10. And all four options say A1 equals 10. But what are we multiplying by? 1/2. That's the key. So this one says times 2, this one says plus 5. It's not even close. This one says times 1/2, so C is it. And since it's geometric, I'm going to highlight that answer in pink. So it stands out. Okay. Then the last two, it's a word problem. It's Disneyland versus Six Flags and their annual salary. But on these, I was expecting you guys to use a formula. If you don't though, you can totally just figure it out. It's not a long list, it's a short list of terms. So you can totally figure it out by making a table or figuring out the terms of the sequence on your own, okay? So I'm gonna show you two ways. Disneyland offers you a job starting off with a first year salary of $35,000. So I'm gonna color coordinate this. I'll use purple for Disneyland. The first year salary is $35,000, so that tells me my very first term of the sequence, my A1 is $35,000, because it's a first year. Has an annual raise, that means a yearly raise of $1,500. A raise means we would add or subtract. Add, but we like that word. Okay, we're adding on to a money, right? So this is a common difference of $1,500. Okay, so that's Disneyland. I'll use blue for Six Flags. Six Flags is offering you a first year salary of $20,000. So that's our A1 for the first year, $20,000. With an annual raise, so we're adding $2,000 a year. So there's our common difference for the Six Flags annual salary. Okay, so both of these are what kind of sequence? Arithmetic. So they're both arithmetic. Okay, we're adding the same number every time, but there's two sequences here, a Disneyland sequence and a Six Flags sequence. Number 12, what will your salary be with Disneyland as you begin your 6th year? If we are beginning the 6th year, we're finding the 6th term of the sequence, A sub 6. Okay, so I'm going to first show you how to do this without a formula. Okay, so we know that the first term is 35,000. And then what are we adding on every year for Disneyland? 1,500, 1,500. So that would be $36,500 for year 2. And then 36,500 plus 1,500, what would that be? 38,000. And then 38,000 plus 1,500 would be what? 39,500. And then 39,500 plus 1,500 would be what? 41,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need one more term. So what's 41,000 plus 1,500? 42,500. So there's our 6th term. So A sub 6 equals, in dollars, $42,500. Okay, so you can totally figure that out without using a formula. But I do want you guys to try to come up with the answer using a formula. Okay, because this is enhanced math for you, so we want to try to pressure ourselves, challenge ourselves in a good way. So if we were to use a formula, to find the sixth term. Remember, our arithmetic explicit formula is a sub n equals a1 plus d times n minus 1. It will get us there faster, I promise. So what we gotta do is, well, we know we're finding the sixth term, so that tells me that n is a 6, a sub 6, right? The first term of the sequence is what number? 35,000. The common difference is what number?
1500.
1500. And then what do I plug in for n again?
N minus 6.
6. What is 6 minus 1? 5. Remember, the n minus 1 should always be one number less than the term number you're on, okay? So then it's just 5 times 1500. Oh my gosh, I left my calculator up there. 5 times 1500 plus 35,000. Obviously, it's going to equal 42,500. Okay. Let me just get my calculator so you guys can see it. And I cleaned the screen. I know it was really dirty, so that's why it was hard to see sometimes. So, 1500 times 5 is 7,500. Add 35,000 to that, and there it is, 42,500. And it's actually less steps than coming out with all 6 terms and then finding it that way. So I'm okay with either method, but like I said, this is enhanced 3, so I am going to be looking for this first, okay? If you have to do it this way because you're stuck, that's totally fine, but try to do this way first, or if you get it this way, try to go back and see if you can use a formula, okay? Because you need that practice. You're not going to be doing this as we do problems further down the road. They're not going to be that easy. So you're going to want to make sure that you are able to use that formula. All right, number 13, this one's about Six Flags. So Six Flags was in blue. It says, what would your salary be with Six Flags at the beginning of your 6th year? So same thing. We're finding the 6th term. So what is the first term for the Six Flags sequence? What is our first year salary for Six Flags? 20,000, right? So there's our first term. And what are we adding on every year? 2,000. So the next one would be 22K. And then it's just counting by even numbers, right?
24.
24K. 6K. 28K. And 30K. 30,000. That is our 6th term. So A sub 6 is 30,000. 30,000 bucks. That's barely anything these days. At least it's something. Less than minimum wage is now. So I think it's what, $15 an hour now, 50 minimum wage. So it's definitely a lot more than that now. All right, so that would be without a formula. With a formula, the formula for this is still this one. I would still use that formula, so I'm not going to rewrite it. Let's just use it. So if I'm finding the 6th term for the Six Flags sequence, the first term, my A1 is 20 grand, 20,000, plus the common difference was 2,000. And what number is going to go in the parentheses there?
5.
A 5. The n minus 1. 6 minus 1 is 5. What is 5 times 2,000? 10,000, right? 10K. And then 10K plus 20K is 30K, 30,000. It really does get you there faster if you can use the formula. And like I said, the numbers won't always be small terms to just add up or make a list. Sometimes you're really gonna only be able to use a formula. All right, so here are the formulas that you need to know for tomorrow. There will be no sums on the quiz tomorrow. So the sigma and the sum formulas from yesterday, none of that's gonna be on the quiz, okay? But you will need the arithmetic ones and the geometric recursive and explicit formulas. So for arithmetic, you need to remember the recursive. I'll just put REC for recursive. You need to know that you have to list whatever the A1 is, and then A sub n equals A sub n minus 1 plus whatever the D is. Remember, you always just plug in the A1 and the D for the arithmetic recursive formula. The A1, the AN, the AN minus 1, that all stays the same. Okay. For the explicit formula, you just need A sub n equals A1 plus D, bless you, times n minus 1. And that's the explicit formula. All you need to plug in there is A1 and D when you're writing a formula. But like we did in number 12 and number 13, you have to plug in something for the n if you're finding or if you're calculating a specific term. Okay? For geometric, it's very, very similar. For its recursive formula, you need the A1. It's going to be whatever that first number, that first term is of the sequence. And then A sub n equals A sub n minus 1 times whatever the R is. Okay? So it just depends on what the first term is and what the R is. That's going to be the difference between recursive formulas for a geometric sequence. For the explicit formula, A sub n equals A1 times R to the n minus 1 power. And all you got to plug in is the A1 and the R. And that one doesn't require any cleanup. You just plug it in, boom, you're done. Bless you. But when it comes to the explicit formula for an arithmetic sequence, you plug them in, then you have to use the distributive property, and then you have to combine like terms, and then you write your answer. Okay? All right, what time do we get out? 26? Oh, perfect, we got 5 minutes left. We finished early. So, you guys, you can go ahead and pack up early. You have 5 free minutes to yourselves.